Hello everyone, Ron here with Solo Operative Games. Today we are at the table and we have Merchant's Coast set up for a two-player game, well actually a solo game, against the Peddler, who is the AI opponent. I'm going to teach you how to set the game up and how to play, and then in the next video we will be covering the Alchemist and actually play a match versus the Peddler, so you can see how that works. If that all works well, then we'll move on and play some of the other playable characters like the Blacksmith, Chronomancer, Captain, and various other ones. So, how do we set this board up? First thing, get the main board out, get the Peddler's board out, and pick which character you're going to be playing with. And then we'll set it up by starting. We'll put all 6 boats out in the water here. Doesn't matter which which ones you pick. Just 3 on one side, 3 on the other side, and those are good to go. Now you'll take the townsfolk cards. We're going to be just playing with all base elements here. No expansions, no modules, no secret stash stuff for this first play. So you look at these town cards. There's there's 3 types included in the base game. You have the ones with the little house icon on them. Those are the locals. And then you have the ones with the little swords on them. Those will be the mercenaries. There's also ones with an anchor on them, and those are called the sailors. We're not going to be playing with those. It's recommended for your first game you play with the mercenaries and the locals. So shuffle this deck up and then just draw out 4 of these townspeople into the town square. And then put the rest of the deck on the bridge here. All right, next thing you want to do is decide which rogue you're going to play with. 3 rogues come with the default game. It recommends for your first one you play with the criminals, which are these guys here. They have no special ability. They just take up spots in the boats and end up scoring you negative points for all of your corruption at the end of the game. Okay. On that card with the criminal, it'll have an icon on the top right. It'll say how many to put in the bag and how many to put in the rogue's lair. This particular criminals want 4 of them to go in the bag. So we'll put them with the other meeples in here. And then 2 of them in the lair. Now there are 7 of them. You will use this guy in another game, but not this one. So he just goes off the table, out of the game, into the box, whatever. So that's the rogue setup. We've got 2 in the lair. You're also going to put 1 of each adventurer into their guild hall. So we've got the warriors, the bards, the wizards, and the nobles already set up there. On the clock here, which controls kind of whose turn it is and when the phases change, you've got these 2 mice icons, and those will go on the actual clock hands covering up the corruption signs or icons. The market phase indicator token goes at 12 o'clock. And because we're playing the solo games technically set up as a 2-player game, so these double adventure tokens go on the 9:30 and the 11:30 locations. You'll want to pick a color that you're going to play with from these banners. So I will be playing as the blue octopus faction, and the Peddler today will be the purple unicorn faction. So just put it on their board somewhere. They do have standees, it's just you're not going to see it at a top-down angle here, so that's why I'm just kind of laying them down. The time indicators, the Peddler always goes first, so his indicators are going to go on top, and they'll go at 1 o'clock. And then the scoring indicators or tokens both go on the start line here at 0 points. All right, we are pretty much set up to go at this point. I've already set up the Alchemist following their instructions. I'm not going to explain a lot about how the Alchemist works in this video. I just want to cover the main board actions and how the Peddler works. You also want to grab one of the other players' goods. So I just grabbed the ones from the blacksmith, and the Peddler will be selling the blacksmith's goods for him in this game. And I've got all of my goods for the Alchemist. And yeah, I think we are ready to start. The first phase here is the arrival phase. In that phase, we're going to take all the meeples in the bag, make sure we mix it up really well. So we just put those rogues on top. And we're going to put 2 in each boat. It doesn't matter what colors they are, unless we draw a rogue. We'll refer to the rogue card. And for the criminals, it has a boat icon up in the top left, which means criminals the rogues are allowed on boats if they're drawn. And there we have one there. He's allowed to be there. If it has a bag icon, that means throw the rogue back in the bag and replace them with another one until you have 2 meeples in each boat, and we should be good to go. Oops, there we go. Last one more. The peddler also gets a set of his own meeples. He needs 4 of them. You just fill up these little boat slots. And so we'll get him. He's allowed to have rogues too. It doesn't matter what colors he gets. And there we go. We've got his set up. That is the entire arrival phase complete. So we will move into the production phase. Now this is the phase where you actually produce your goods, and every playable character does that in a different way, but they all have the end goal of producing goods to sell in the market phase. So I'm not going to cover how the alchemist does it. I'll just kind of simulate her generating some goods, but I will show you how the peddler gets his goods. The other thing we should do is take this peddler deck and just flip one of these over into the right side of the middle section. Okay. So we're good to go. How we start is the production phase is we look at the time indicators. Whoever is the furthest back on the clock, or in the case of a tie, whoever's on top will go first. So that's going to be the peddler. For the peddler's turns, you're just going to take one of these cards and flip them over and evaluate what's in the middle section surrounded by this yellow border. The top right will be the actual action they take. In this case, they're going to make a blue good and a red good, the small blue, small red good, and they're going to do that one time. This multiplier can either be a 0, a 1, or a 2. So if it says 0, you just don't do the action. If it's 2, you'll do it twice. That makes sense, right? So in this case, we're going to do it one time to get them a blue good, and this goes on this little track up here. We'll just shift it all the way to the right, the left, and then the red good. That's pretty much his entire action. He's going to pay for it with 2 times. So we just look at the indicators in the middle, and so we move his token 2 spaces for that time. And we're not going to use the bottom part of the card for this specific action. So that's his turn done. So what's great about the Satoma is he has very quick turns. There's not a lot of thinking to do about what you do for him, and you get to focus more on your board. So I'm now in the back, so I get to take a turn. And let's just say the alchemist is going to do some of her marble manipulation to put them into some cauldrons. That takes her 2 time. I'm not actually going to do it, but she goes and uses 2 time up to do that. And since I'm on top, I actually take another turn, so 2 in a row. And let's say this time I go down and actually do some brewing and I make some goods. We'll just simulate that. These have standees as well, but since you can't see that, I'm gonna go and lay them down. And let's say that she was able to get some goods from that turn and took 1 time, okay? I have now passed this little adventure icon here, which means I get to do the load the boats action. For a playable character, I draw from the bag, and I can place this meeple in any of the boats. Now, you want to think about strategy here. You look and say, well, I made a large red and a small yellow. The large goods are sold at this dock here. The small goods are sold here, and then here in the black market, they'll buy any type of good, but you pay corruption to do it. Since I have a large good, I probably want to put some red guys over here, a large red good. And this one already has 2 red meeples, so maybe I just load it up and go all my eggs in one basket. I really hope for a high score from this red boat, if it makes it. So that's my turn now done. I've loaded the boats, and it is now over to the peddler's turn. He's going to slide these cards over and flip, and he's going to get 1 large yellow good, and he puts that on there. And this one is going to cost him 1 time, so he'll move up on top of me. And he'll also take a corruption card, so he'll just draw one of these. These go face down in his area, and you just keep a pile of corruption for the peddler. He also passed this icon now, so he gets to load the boats. He does not draw from the bag. Instead, he looks at his goods and says, what is the furthest over good that I have? Right now it's yellow. And he's going to look for a yellow meeple here. He doesn't have any, so he's going to look to the second good, and that one's red, and so he does have a red meeple. So he's going to take one of these, slide the rest over, and he's going to place this. Now, to know where to put it, we'll look at the bottom icons here. This one says, you can see it's using the left half of the anchor. It's got the left side of the boats and the left side of the card, so it just means focus on the left side of the game board. This one says, I want to be closer to the outside of the game board. So left outside would be this boat here. He's added a red guy there. Well, that's good for me, because if this boat does come into the large goods, I've got now a red meeple willing to buy my health elixir. Okay, so that is his turn done, but he is on top, so he will take another turn. And I can already tell, if I'm planning that I know what action he's going to be doing, I just don't know how many times and what it's going to cost him. But we'll do that and slide this over. And now, oh, look at that. He's going to do the recruit a townsfolk action twice. That's exciting for him. So again, we're going to look at these bottom indicators to find out which townsfolk he recruits. He's going to look at the right side this time and closest to the middle. So that is going to be right side middle, this guy here. We don't really care much about what card he takes. This will go into end game scoring for him. We don't look at the actual action. He just puts it over here. He does pay 2 time for that. 1, 2. We'll have to remember that he did cross that threshold here. And then he's also, when he does the recruit a townsfolk action, he draws 2 more meeples into his tableau here, so we're going to just randomly give him 2 more. Now, if you ever need to draw meeples but there's no place for them, this says don't draw the meeple, instead discard a corruption card. And so we would just put this at the bottom of the deck in case this track ever fill up. Now, if the items, the wares ever fill up, you don't get another good. Instead, he would add another meeple. If then the meeples are full, then he would get a corruption. And if he has no corruption at all, he just doesn't do anything there. Okay, so we've done this once. We need to do it twice. So this is going to shift over to the right, and he's going to take, again, the right side center. That doesn't change. And so he's going to take this one too. And we'll just put that up there as well. And again, refill. He only pays the cost once, though. Oh, he actually is going to do the meeple action again, though. He needs to draw 2. We can only draw 1, and then he'll remove the corruption with the second one. So now he has no corruption cards. Okay, so we've done that twice. He's paid for it. He only pays the 2. He doesn't pay 4 or anything like that. So now he's done, but he does do the boats action again. He has no yellow meeples. He does have a red meeple. Goes here. He's looking at the right side in the middle, which is this boat right there. Okay. So now it is back to our turn, and let's say that we take the recruit townsfolk action. For us, the cost is variable based on which one we take. The ones towards the right side are a little bit cheaper because they've been around a lot longer. Maybe they're worse off as a card. The ones to the left cost a little bit more, and maybe they're just brand new and they're really good cards, so you have to pay for them. What I'm thinking about when I pick which one I want to take is the bottom action is going to tell me what I get to do when I recruit them. So if it's a box, this is take a large blue good, small green, small yellow, or remove a corruption. Now I have no corruption, so that guy's probably out. But I'm also looking at these symbols up here because they're going to go into endgame scoring. If you look at the guild halls, these are going to fill up over time, and I'll show that's done, but they're going to be multipliers on top of these symbols. So if I have 2 reds and there's 1 guy here, that's 2 victory points in the end of the game. Right now they're all even, so that doesn't really help me on which one I want to pick, so it's more of basically the cost and which thing. So if I'm looking out here, there's no blue meeples that can come here to the large dock yet, so that one probably doesn't help. I might get 2 greens that I could drive into the small deck. So I think this one might not be a bad card to take. So I'll take this one and get a small green good. Okay, and then I get to tuck this under my workforce bar here. Now, wherever I place him is going to give me an action that I can use later in the game when I activate my workforce. They're all unique to each player except for this remove corruption one on the right. I'm going to put it on this one right here, and that just allows the alchemist to manipulate marbles a little bit differently when they go there. Okay, so that's really all I have done. This will refill, and I remember I paid 2 time for that. I'm loading a boat here, and I got another red one. That is really nice because he does not have any large red goods, and I do. So if I put it in this boat here, that's 4 warriors that all want to buy my health elixir. So that's pretty good. I'm going to drive it right on there. As soon as it's 4, that means you get to dock it. You cannot cross the middle space. You have to pick one of the 2 spaces on that side, and you can't dock in a dock that's already full, right? So this is the only space that these 2 boats can compete for. So I've done that. I get to go again because I'm on top, And one thing about the player board is you can never do the same action twice. You have to move it to a different action. So let's go here and do some more marble manipulation and get 2 time. And I'm loading the boats again. Wow, that was nice to get 2 in a row there. And I've got a green meeple. I want green meeples to go to the small dock. Well, here's a good one. And looking at his, he does have a red small good, which this guy could buy, but he has no green small. So that sounds like a great place to put this one to buy my green. What would that be? A regeneration potion. So these guys are stuck out. They don't get a dock, and so instead they come into their guild hall or the den. So the green guy is going to go here, the bard, and the rogue will go over here in the den, or the lair. I can't remember what it's called. And all of these guys, I guess, should have gotten out and stood on the dock when they came here. And you can group them up by color. And they're just going to wait here until the market phase to buy stuff. Okay. Now nobody else can put boats in or put adventurers in these boats. So if his ever says to put it on the left side of the board, he would ignore that and put it on the right side instead. I guess I should have shifted these over. My turn is now over, so we'll go back to the peddler and see what he gets to do. And this will be his 4th type of action. So all he has is get small goods, get large goods, recruit townspeople, or to score the guild hall. And that's what this one is. So only 4 actions you have to remember on what to do. Well, I guess 5 because he's got the load the boats action. So this says score the yellow hall once. There's only 1 meeple here, so he just gets 1 point. Piece of cake. And it costs him 1 time to do that. And he's going to go again. All right, and this says get a green small good. Oh, that's a bummer because we just put a bunch of green guys in there. Oops, why am I looking at mine? He's getting this one. That was smart on his part. I guess he saw that we had green guys there and he was gonna chase after him. And he gets 1 time for that. He's crossed to load the boats, and so he's gonna look for a green meeple. Here he goes. We're gonna ignore the side because the right side is the only valid part to put it in, but he's gonna look for closest to the middle. So he's putting a boat here. That boat is now full, so he's going to dock it, and he looks the same thing. So he's going to go closest to the middle, so this one will come here. That adds to our green count, but he just made his red helmet there a lot more valuable with all these red warriors that just arrived. Okay, and again that cost him 1 more time, and now it is our turn. Let's say I want to recruit some more townspeople. Green starting to get a little bit more people here, but what I'm really concerned about is corruption here. There's getting a lot of rogues in that den, and each rogue that adds there is more negative points. So I want to avoid this guy at all costs. He's got a lot of corruption here. And this one, I'm just gonna kind of fudge this real quick, just to show an example. I cannot use this action to remove corruption to cancel out the cost of corruption. This one has to act first and remove a corruption from my tableau, and then I would draw a corruption. So just you have to do them in the right order. But let's put this back. So I think I'm gonna go here and get a small red good because of all those guys there. And I'm gonna put it here under the corruption one. So now I get a small red good, a little health potion, and refill. Now if you ever have 4 townspeople here, you can replace them. You just draw one and discard the one you're replacing back to the bottom of the deck. And so you're not limited to just the 4 you start with. You can always replace if you don't like it. So if you did take this one to get the blue good, you could then just replace them to get rid of those corruption icons. Okay, that one cost me, I think I took that one, so 2 time. Here, I just crossed the double adventurer action, so I get to draw 2. You do them 1 at a time though, so you don't have to pick. This is a red one. It's not going to really matter because we're both going to probably sell our red goods. But I do have a red icon here and he doesn't, so I probably want to end up sending this guy to his guild hall. And so I guess either way there's going to be 2 reds, so we'll just put them in there. And then the next one is also a red. If I put it here, they're going to come and dock, and I don't want that, so I will put them here and let the peddler have the chance to determine which one docks. Okay, so I did my 2, I'm done. His turn. He's gonna take a small yellow good, maybe. Oh, he's gonna take 2 small yellow goods. That's gonna cost him 2 time, 1, 2. And he's gonna load the boats twice. So any yellow meeples, no. Any green, yes. So we'll load the green. That one goes into the right side center. So that's gonna come here. That one is now full, so it will dock in the only space available. And they will get out into the black market. Oops, boat's crashing. This one had no place to go, so all of these go into their guild halls, which is what I wanted, right? To get these warriors over here. And now the market, we've done all the boats that can be done. So we ignore any more place boats action. So he did not get to place his second meeple. They'll just stay there. And also, if you reach this point of the game earlier in the clock, let's say they were like back here, or maybe like here, this market phase would move down to 1 ahead of the furthest advanced token. So in this case, 11 o'clock. But we were right here, and so it will just stay there. This phase will now continue until all tokens are either on top of or beyond the market phase indicator. So we just keep playing, and I get to go. Let's say I decide to activate my workforce. So now I look at this deck, and I get to activate both icons that are filled with cards here. So I get to remove a corruption if I had one. I don't. And then I get to move a marble into a cauldron, is what this specific one does. So maybe that was wise, maybe it wasn't in this particular case. I just wanted to show that that's an action that every single player character has. They all have the ability to remove corruption from activating if they have a card there, and it costs 2 times. So 1, 2, I don't load the boats, and now I'm on top of the market phase indicator, so I'm actually done with this phase. Peddler, on the other hand, he's going to get 1 more turn. And he's going to score the blue guild hall 0 times. Okay, so he doesn't actually score any points at all, and he does cost him 1 time. He has now passed the market phase indicator, so that is the end of the production phase. We go into the market phase, and this is where we sell our goods to the adventurers that have landed on the dock. And we're going to start at the left side where they're buying large goods. There's only red meeples here, the only warriors, so only large red goods will sell. Well, I just happen to have one. Its base cost is 6, and I multiply that by the number of warriors that are there to buy it, which is 4. So this one elixir is going to net me 24 gold to sell. So I will definitely sell it. And you do have the choice. If you don't want to sell, or you can't sell because there's not a meeple of that color, you can just hold it back on your display case. The peddler on the hand will always sell if he can. In this case, he has no large red, and his yellow, there's no one there to buy it. So we move into the middle one. I think I'll sell my green and my red small goods. So the green is 3 times 4 is 12. 36, and my red is also 3 times 3 guys there is 9. So we're up to 45 points. My yellow one, the yellow and blue are worth more than their red and green counterparts, but it's only 1 more, so it's 4. There's only 1 meeple here, so I'm gonna say, sorry dude, come back when you have some more friends and like to pay a little bit more for my experience potion here. And so I'm pretty much done. We'll look at him. He's got 2 small yellows, which he will sell because he always sells if he can. They're each worth 4, so that's 8 for him. The green is 3 times the 4 meeples that are there, so that's 12. His red is 3 times 3, so that's 9 more. And his blue will not sell here. We're gonna move to the black market now. I don't have any goods I'd like to sell there. The yellow sword will not sell because there's no bards or no nobles there, but the blue boots will sell there, and he's going to sell them for 4 because there's just 1 wizard, and so he'll get $4 more. Now, because he's sold to the black market, doesn't matter how many goods, you can sell 1 good or 100 goods, you always draw 1 corruption if you sell to anything to the black market. Okay, that is the end of the market phase, and so we move into cleanup. In the cleanup phase, we take all the boats and ship them back out to sea. And any meeple on the dock goes back in the adventure bag. Back out to the dungeons with you guys. Any meeples in the guild halls stay there. The peddler is going to take all of his cards and shuffle them up, so he reactivates, or gets to do any action again. And we'll put that back here and draw the first one over to there. Shift that extra yellow sword that didn't sell all the way over. He needs to draw one. He always fills up to 4. If he's over 4, he just keeps what he has. That's not good. Now he's got a yellow meeple to buy that yellow sword. So I gotta watch which boats he puts it in and try and manipulate that. You remove the rightmost townsperson. They are gone. They go to the bottom of the deck. Refill. And we need to fix the time indicator. The first thing that happens is this mouse is going to move up to 1 o'clock, and we take the stack, keeping player order. So if purple was behind me, he would go on top because the first player, the next player to go is the one on top, and we put that on the 2 o'clock. The market phase, if it had ever moved back, we would reset to 12, leave the other mouse where he is. Now what this does is it starts us at 2, so we've got 1 less hour to produce goods on this clock. However, if we want that hour back, we can pay corruption to do so. When you're moving along the track, you can instead go up to the icon and get a corruption card for doing so, and then back down. You can't do it if a mouse is there, he blocks it. But notice that if you do go up and down, you miss the opportunity to load the boats. And that is a big decision, because loading the boats is really critical to this game to control which meeples go where. So you better have a good reason to do that if you're gonna go and take that corruption. Now the peddler will always take the corruption if he has 3 or less goods. That's what this icon means here. If he has 4 or more, he will skip over it and do the load the boats instead. Okay, so I think we're good here. I did forget one thing. Is at the end of the market phase, after we've sold goods, we need to score the guild halls. Now I think he did not have this noble at this time, he just had these 3. So this, he's gonna look at these. This green meeple is gonna score him 3 points because there's 3 bards here. I often forget this phase, it's hard to remember, but his wizards will score 2 times 1 for 2 points. And then he drew this after that phase in the cleanup, or in the next arrival phase. On the alchemist turn, I actually did not unlock any icons. Now each board has a different way of showing them, but for the alchemist you have to move these little ichor elements down into the cauldron, and that would unlock the thing. So if I had done that, I would have scored like 1 point, which means I probably want to do it for red or green because they're much more valuable for point wise. Okay, so are we ready for the next phase? I believe we are. So that was all of round 1. We're now in round 2, where we would do the arrival phase again. And that would be put 2 meeples in each boat. I'm not going to do that just for the sake of time, and because it's just going to repeat what we've already learned. So I would put 2 meeples in all the boats again. We would go back to production, doing our different actions and moving along. Remember, if you get here, you can go up to corruption if you want, or just go straight across. And let's say that I, in doing so, really focused on getting that red and green unlocked. Yeah, so that would happen. We do that total of 3 times, 3 rounds. So we've explained the first one, we're in the middle of the second one. For the third round, during that cleanup, you would move the second mouse over here and start the stack on the 3 o'clock hour. So now you can really get corrupt if you want to take some extra time to produce some goods. And you would do the same thing, sell your goods to score, and do the guild halls based on your icons. So let me skip ahead to what the game state would look like more at the end of the game. We probably would have scored a lot more points. If you ever get over 100, let's say purple's done a little bit better than us, he's going to take one of these reds, which represents 100 points, and just keep that on his board. We probably have a lot more meeples in the guild hall, so let's just put a few random ones in here. Get a lot of warriors and a lot of bards. Not very good on nobles and magicians, okay? We probably would have had recruited more, but let's say I had a few more corruption cards. Okay. And let me recruit this guy. The player would have had a few more guys as well. He can, I think the max he can get is 6 if he happens to hit his deck completely perfect. But he's allowed to have more than 4, where we can only maximum have 4. And he would probably also be a lot more corrupt there. So after scoring that final guild hall, we would go into final scoring. To do this, we look at all the icons, not on our player board, but in our corruption and on our townsfolk. So we get to flip his over and see how he did. And then we can show the rest and do that. So it's just like scoring the guild hall. This one, we've now got 7 warriors here. And I've got 1, 2, 3 warrior symbols. So that's 21 points for me. So I'm up to here and I would take a red. He has 1 red icon too, so he's getting 14. Okay, now let's look at green. There's 6 here. He has 1 icon only. You don't look at his meeples, and I don't look at my player board, so he just has the 1 green for 6. I have 1 green as well for 6. And then we would do the same thing with blue and yellow. He focused a lot on blue, just by chance. Blue wasn't very valuable, so the 3 icons he has times 2 is only 6 points. I don't have, well, I do have 1 from a corruption card, so I get 3. With yellow, yellow is really worthless. There's only 1 noble here in the guild hall. He has 1, and I have none. Last thing is these rogues, these pesky rogues, criminals. Count up all your corruption icons. There could be corruption icons on your guys here, like in the case of our NPC or our peddler here. And then you have your corruption here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Times 3 is minus 15 points. So I'm going to come back to 115. The peddler, on the other hand, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times 3 is 27. So he's going to go way back. And then that is the end of the game. Whoever has the most points wins. Any goods left on your display case are worthless, so you don't score those at all. So make sure you try and sell them all before that happens. And make sure, depending on how many rogues are here, if there's only 2, you know, corruption is not too great. But if you start getting more and more rogues in the den, you want to get rid of these corruption cards. And when I'm looking at these, I can see that this one is going to be minus 3 points, right? This one's minus 3, it's minus 3. This one is minus 6, but plus 2, so it's basically a minus 4. Whereas this one is minus 6, but then plus 7. So this card is actually worth 1 victory point. So corruption can net you points if you're watching correctly. This one's just a wash, and these ones are minus. So when you're doing this action to remove corruption, you want to look at this and say, okay, which of these is actually going to net me the most points? Minus 3 versus minus 4. So I would get rid of this one if I were doing that action. So that's a strategy tip there. The other strategy is the peddler will always look at the outside boats, either the one on the far outside of the edges or the inside edges. So he will never place meeples into the middle, which means he'll never dock them, unless one of them has already come in, then the other one is now the outside boat. So if you want to control the boats a little bit better, let's say I have a ton of red icons, I probably want to stick warriors in the middle boats. That's a much better chance that that boat is not going to come dock, right? I can't overfill it, right? I can't put 2 in there because, you know, it would just have to dock there. But that's a little bit more strategy of when you're deciding where to put your meeples when they come out. Guys, with that, I think you are well equipped to play a game of Merchant's Coast. Now, this game does exist on Tabletop Simulator, so if you don't own it, you can give it a try with TTS. And I hope that you will come back next video and watch me as I explain how to play the Alchemist, and then we will take on the Peddler in a match and see who is better at selling our wares. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you next video. Bye, guys.